some of the incidents in the game, and I'm certainly going to make some comments about the fans' behaviour at the end towards match officials.
Yeah, just a couple of things that I'm able to clarify. Obviously, there's some restrictions around it because some things are on report and subject to match review. But in relation to the 8-point try, the situation was that the video referees overturned the live decision, which was that he'd lost the ball. They then processed it that they had sufficient evidence to overturn that, ground the ball. The contact made post the tackle with the foot gave them a cause to have an 8-point try, which results in an initial kick at goal conversion from the position in line with the try, and then another one under the sticks. Probably the second incident that needs to be clarified is in relation to the penalty late in the game. If there is an unsuccessful field goal attempt and there is an infringement on the kicker, that penalty is awarded 10 metres out from in front of the goalpost. That's why they went to that position for the penalty. It's not where the ball bounces, which is just from a general play kick, and that was the difference in it.
Did you believe the penalty was the right call?
In relation to that, the rules around a kicker are that there can't be late, high or dangerous contact, and that's how they processed it, and the penalty was then awarded and it went up the park.
So did you think it was a penalty?
It's really difficult for me to comment, as I said at the start, because the player has been placed on report for the dangerous contact, and there's obviously a process that has to occur in relation to that, and that's why I said at the start.
Are you worried about the players crowding around the referees and abusing the referees?
Look, obviously in relation to the incident, the referee took some action on the field. A player was placed in the sin bin for the comments that he made. And obviously in those circumstances the referee is trying to explain, and no doubt there was some confusion about why the penalty was under the sticks or 10 metres out from under the post, and he obviously went through a process in relation to that. It's not ideal, but these circumstances do arise in time to time in games.
And Tony, what's the condition of the referees? I believe that obviously a lot of things were thrown at them at the end.
Yeah, there's obviously, in relation to the touch judge, he fell to the ground.
Who was it?
Nick Beashel is his name, and he's okay now. And Todd will speak about it.
Yeah, I'll make a couple of comments because it is clearly unacceptable what we saw at the end of today's game. I've been saying for several months, and today highlights the fact that we need to put more respect and more attention around our match officials and referees, and the behaviour of fans here at this game today was completely unacceptable. And I'll be having as much dialogue as is needed with both the club, the stadium and the authorities to ensure appropriate penalties are handed out. On top of that, we have a sideline official, one of our interchange officials, who's on his way to hospital for being hit directly by a bottle and falling, and that's just not acceptable in the game. There's lots of marginal calls in rugby league. There's lots of tight calls in rugby league, but the fans' behaviour today was completely unacceptable, and we won't tolerate it.
What was the name of the official?
I couldn't tell you.
Was it the concussion official?
Yeah, he was a sideline interchange official, yes.
What are the injuries?
He may have a broken shoulder.
From being hit with the bottle?
Being hit and then falling. Was it a full bottle? Or? I don't know. I don't know the details, but he's in a pretty bad way, and he's just about to get into an ambulance.
What
and that's
happens?
not acceptable.
If you find out and identify the individuals, what happens?
There's life bans available for us under the rules, and we'll work, as I said, with the stadium, with the club, and with the police in order to find those culprits. As I said, it's not acceptable. There's lots of tight calls in games. People come to the football to enjoy the football, and we've got a lot of people working on the sidelines. And what we saw at the end of the game is not acceptable in rugby league, and we've got to make sure we work as hard as we can to stamp that behaviour out.
Todd, I just walked back into the foyer of the ground, and there was a young kid, probably 17, 18, South fan, laying on a stretcher who'd been punched by a Bulldogs fan in the back of the head, and apparently the police are investigating that. Do you know anything about that story?
No, I don't know about that one. I'm not sure of what's happening currently outside the stadium. I'm focused particularly about what I saw at the end of the game.
Todd, overseas, often the club is punished for the behaviour of the fans. We've had clubs have to pay in front of empty stadiums. Do you hold the club responsible for the behaviour of the fans?
Oh, look, I think at the moment, from what I've seen, and I know this club better than most, having worked here for a long period of time, this club's done a great job over a long time. to make sure their behaviour of their fans is very good. And this, to me, is an incident that was very emotional at the end of the game. It's not acceptable on any occasion, but I think it'd be fair to say this club's done a lot in that regard.
Are you unhappy with the way the players acted towards the officials towards the end of the match as well?
I understand emotion gets high, but there are consequences for poor behaviour on the field. One of them was sent straight to the sin bin, as you would expect. It's an emotional part of the game at the end. There are tight decisions in every game, but clearly what we saw today is not right, and we shouldn't tolerate it.
So what do you do with those players, Todd? Can you take action against the players who harass the referees and abuse them?
It comes down to my broader point that I've been talking about for several months now, that match officials have a tough job to do, and we've got to get behind them, we've got to support them, we've got to respect them. And what we saw at the end today is just not right, and that's a consequence of this. I'm desperately trying hard to make sure people understand how tough the job they have. There's so many marginal calls in games that will get debated, and that's a great part of what the sport is, but we've got to make sure we put support behind our match officials. They're a very important part of the game.
Will there be a ban on bottles?
Oh, look, that's something I have to talk about in the stadium. I wouldn't have thought so. We've been playing games here for a long time. I've never seen this happen before at a game, so it's unprecedented in my time, but it's not acceptable, and we'll do what we can to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Todd, is there any link between the way that the players were acting on the field and what happened afterwards? Like the players on the field may have incited the crowd afterwards?
Oh, I think that you could draw a conclusion like that, but I wouldn't say. Players are responsible for their behaviour on the field, and clearly there are rules in place, and we saw one player get marched straight to the sin bin. Fans need to know what they did today is not acceptable, simple as that.
Should there be a tunnel for referees to walk under as they're coming off the game?
There is a tunnel for the referees to
But
walk
there's no protection, so when fans are throwing stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, well, you can't build a tunnel that goes around the middle of the stadium. We shouldn't have to build tunnels. We should be telling our fans how their behaviour is acceptable and not. Today's not.
Can you clarify the concussion, Todd? I mean, they had two players, and what was basically saying was told the player goes down, he's off, can't come back in the game. You had a meeting on Wednesday with the doctors. Is that now the rule? Once a player goes down on the field, he can't come off. He can't come back off.
Yeah, that's not exactly the rule. There's a number of specifics in that rule, and we had a phone conference with the doctors during the week, and I thought the doctor of the Rabbitohs today handled himself well within those boundaries and made some key decisions. And clearly one of the Bulldogs players is off for the game, not for a concussion, but for another injury. It's part of what the game is, and it's part of the rotation interchange bench the coaches have to manage.
So it's not as simple as a bloke cops a head knock and goes down, he can't come back on?
No, it's not. That's a very strong generalisation of the policy. That's not the policy at all.
Thank you.
But there's